Listen, I swear to you, I swore to myself that I was not going to do another quick news update until I got my third formal Marilyn Manson video completed, but the planet had different plans for me this week. So instead, we're gonna go over all of the big news items that have come out over the past week and a half. Bandit is currently trying to make a bed over there in the corner. We're gonna let her finish before we get into this conversation. So I'm gonna go in chronological order here because there is just so much that came out in the last week and a half. The first thing I saw reported, I believe around May 18th, so this would have been like right after my last video either came out. I might have still been editing it, I don't remember, but this is really, really key. So you might remember from last time that Esme Bianco had filed a lawsuit against Marilyn Manson. Now it seems that in addition, Ashley Waters, who was Marilyn Manson's personal assistant for a period of time, has also filed a lawsuit against him. And as per usual, this suit does reflect some details that we already knew about, but a lot that has never come out about Ashley Walters' story, because previous to this, Ashley had really been kind of a supporting player and corroborating other stories that had come out, but now she has an opportunity to speak for herself and relay what allegedly happened to her. So this started in 2010 when Marilyn Manson contacted her because he was a fan of her work on social media and wanted to talk to her about a potential professional collaboration. Now, when she went to Manson's place, he actually instructed her to park in a parking lot that, unknown to her, would be locked between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. When they first met up, things were cordial at first, and then it went in the direction of Manson propositioning her for a photo shoot. Now, as a photographer herself, being comfortable with things like suggestive photography, she agreed but wanted to keep her bra on. And quote, he asked her to remove her bra. When Manson finished taking photos, the lawsuit says he pushed her on his bed, pinned her down, and tried to kiss her. Manson then, quote, moved behind Walters and bit her ear while grabbing her hand and placing it in his underwear, according to the complaint. Walters told The Cut that she was able to roll off the bed, and as soon as the parking lot opened, she left and walked to her car. She wasn't sure how to feel about what had happened, she said, and told herself that since he had stopped, it probably technically wasn't assault. Manson immediately began bombarding her with texts about how talented she was, according to the complaint, and she still wanted the chance to work together. And after 3 more months of continual contact and flattery in which Manson supposedly stayed professional, he asked her to be his personal assistant. And through this, she quickly became aware of his nocturnal schedule, the fact that he kept his house completely dark, requiring his staff members to wear headlamps in order to be able to navigate around his house. She would often be expected to work for 48 hours or longer at a stretch. And also, something that I noticed these articles didn't touch on was that he allegedly placed narcotics without her permission in her luggage during international travel. Because, of course, Marilyn Manson is not going to stop his cocaine habit just because he's flying to Europe. Quote, she lived in fear of his angry outbursts, the complaint says, which included throwing dishes at Walters or pushing her against a wall, along with constant threats. At one point, he emailed her a photo of Bianco's cut-up back with the subject line, "See what happens." he reportedly offered up Walters to his friends and associates and had this idea that he could give permission to other people to have her. The complaint says that Manson introduced her to a director who repeatedly groped Walters and shoved his hand up her skirt while covering her mouth. She said the singer expected her to please his friends, whether that meant bringing them food, flirting with them, or letting them touch her. And among the allegations in the lawsuit, there was one big incident that happened earlier in the timeline that I was really surprised they also didn't cover. So Manson essentially had her audition to show off her skills to Manson through doing a photo shoot in which she was going to be the subject. And Manson had her basically only wearing a Nazi jacket because, again, we cannot escape from the Nazi imagery in these allegations. And he painted her nipples red. And the concept of the shoot was that Ashley was kissing this guy while an image was being projected over them. And then during the shoot, she noticed that the actor she was working with had put his hands down his pants and was pleasuring himself. She alleges that Manson knew that this was happening and said that she should help him with his erection. She did try to diffuse the situation by kind of giving some excuses and small talk while trying to put her clothes back on. But before she was able to leave, the actor pinned her against a wall and then forced his tongue down her throat. And Manson allegedly did absolutely nothing to stop this from happening. However, by 2011, he became paranoid about Ashley despite all of the things that he had allegedly put her through. He believed that Ashley was trying to damage his career, and as a result, he retaliated by smearing her name to other industry professionals. He also collected blackmail against her and eventually fired her. Though it didn't stop with the firing because he allegedly also hacked into her Facebook account after firing her in order to continue to damage her reputation. So moving on, our next story came out, I believe, around May 25th, and this one involves what I think is a somewhat deceptive headline, so I want to make sure to clear up any misconceptions about this. So the headline would normally read something like Marilyn Manson wanted for arrest, and you would assume that would have something to do with the ongoing allegations, the several lawsuits that are now pending against him. Instead, this actually comes from a much earlier scenario all the way out in New Hampshire, not in California. So it appears that what happened is in 2019 at a concert in New Hampshire, Marilyn Manson allegedly assaulted one of his videographers. He was then charged with 2 counts of simple assault, and then a warrant was issued for his arrest so they could pursue these charges. Although Marilyn Manson was long gone from the state at that point because I believe this concert was sometime in August and the charges went through and the warrant for the arrest went through sometime in very early October. And after being notified of the warrant multiple times, neither Manson nor his legal representation responded to this arrest warrant, which has led to the local New Hampshire police to issue a public statement in an effort to get this warrant actually sort of, processed. I'm not sure what the word for that is, but they're trying to be able to wrap up that case, which is why you are seeing it in the news now. And I think this is really interesting because Marilyn Manson is no stranger to assaulting his crew members or his bandmates on stage. That has been happening for a very long time, to the point that he was sued multiple times for things like this, and I covered that in my previous part 2 video about Marilyn Manson. So this really seems to be par for the course with Marilyn Manson's stage presence, so-called bombastic or edgy personality notwithstanding. Now, the biggest revelation from this past couple of weeks came out literally, I think yesterday, at least when I saw it, it was May 29th, and that is the filing of a lawsuit against Marilyn Manson by a Jane Doe. So it's not somebody, at least that we're aware of, that we have previously heard make allegations against Marilyn Manson. The lawsuit alleges that the relationship started in 2011, and while it began as very romantic and gentle, it did quickly spiral, including forcing her to perform oral sex allegedly against her will. And when she went to return a key to his place, he also allegedly forcibly raped her. Then also threatening to kill her and saying in so many words, "Don't make me do that to you ever again," blaming her for her own assault. And you think that would be the most graphic part of these allegations, but it goes one level deeper. According to the lawsuit obtained by TMZ, the woman claims Manson once showed her a home video he called, quote, groupie, and kept locked in a safe. She claims Manson told her the video was shot in 1996 after his band played a show at the Hollywood Bowl. And she claims the footage included sex acts, humiliation, and a gun. In the documents, the woman claims that Manson's home movie showed him tying a young fan to a chair and forcing her to drink a glass of a band member's urine, threatening her with a gun, and possibly pistol whipping her. Doe claims the video left her scared for her own life. In an article for Spin, which is a publication that has a long history with Manson, his team did respond to allegations regarding this so-called groupie tape. They claimed it was a scripted short film meant to be an extra video feature that was never released, and they did confirm the existence of Groupie as a tape, including a little-known interview from 2002 called A Dinner for Five, as though insinuating because this tape had been discussed previously in public, that meant there was nothing on it that could be damaging to Manson. But let's see what that interview actually says.
I won't go into the details of this film, but I made this movie that I had intentions of putting onto my home video, not thinking that it would offend my own.
So what was the scenario? You guys slow down.
It was like a party at my house.
It was a real party, and you were taping with a real camera.
I said,
yes.
I said a girl's gonna show up, and then something's probably gonna go wrong, and you guys just roll with it.
And she comes over,
yeah, but nobody knew.
They're doing crap and drugs and weird shit. Oh, that's right. You sucked Twiggy's cock on the video. On the video, you sucked Twiggy's cock.
There was a dispute over.
But he put a rubber on it.
And it was
Which
flaccid.
Is even gross.
It was flaccid.
And it was soft.
Well,
so it was disgusting. So it was just more of a freak show. It's totally not, it's great TV. It's great film. It's a film.
But it wasn't just horseplay. The movie did scare the shit out of you, though.
It did scare the shit,
and
because then ding dong, they're having fun, sucking each other's cocks, and then ding dong, who's at the door? A fan. I just know that you live here, and I made this piece of art for you. Will you take it? And you're like, sure. Why don't you come in? And he pulls this she must have been 18, literally.
Less, more, I don't know. Whatever, for the purpose of
better not be less.
No. She was portraying a youngster in the film.
He tries to get her to drink Pogo's urine.
Yeah.
He pees in the wine glass, and then she's like, "You do it," and he drinks it. And then she finally does do that.
Then I introduce a gun into the situation.
It is
and it becomes really scary. And I showed it to him, and he. No, it's not a pornographic film.
I was disturbed.
But that was my independent film.
Can you imagine that? No, people start bleeding at some point, and there's not good things are happening.
A fight breaks
that
out.
girl is tied up at the end and crying.
Well, don't tell the end of the story. A fight. That was my independent film for
that.
No.
All my friends.
Did you get it distributed?
No, because when I showed it to my manager, he said, "Please hide the masters. If anyone sees it, she'll go to jail, and your career will be over."
What's it called?
It was called Groupie.
And this lawsuit actually goes way beyond what the media has so far reported. I was able to find a copy of this lawsuit, and it is quite telling. We see a lot of the same behaviors as was alleged in other relationships, things including overwhelming praise and contact early on in the relationship, leading into Manson saying that he loved this person, this Jane Doe, within 2 weeks of starting to date them, claiming he wanted a monogamous relationship, and then having her move in to his house. However, once she moved in, things quickly began to change. As we have seen previously, the home was allegedly kept entirely dark. It was freezing cold. She was not allowed to wear clothing most of the time or touch the thermostat. He also functionally starved her and shamed her for her weight. Eventually, this got to the point where he was throwing things at walls. He was throwing things at her, and also would go on often coke-fueled destructive rampages. He also allegedly bit her, one of his well-known favorite pastimes, kept her up at all hours of the night for sex, and at one time he allegedly beat her so badly that her throat and her ribs were literally black with bruises. And I don't have to tell you guys this, but it's not generally a sign of like a good consensual BDSM relationship to have your entire throat and part of your ribs be literally black because of the volume of bruises. Now, there are definitely masochists that play to the point of having that level of bruising, but you typically don't do it on the ribs and the throat for the obvious reason that those are very delicate areas. They have obviously very important organs, and they are easily damaged internally because of external impact play or things along those lines. And also, her reaction to the groupie video was even more intense than the articles released have even indicated. She thought that he was showing her this video because he intended to kill her, in part because he refused to answer, allegedly, whether or not the girl in the video was even alive or dead. He also allegedly said that his manager told him to keep the video locked in a safe and never show it to anyone else because if he did, he could go to prison. And if you remember from that little known interview I showed you guys earlier, he says nearly the exact same thing.
No, because when I showed it to my manager, he said, please hide the masters. If anyone sees it, she'll go to jail and your career will be over.
What's it called?
It was called Groupie.
And therefore, she assumed because he said that he would go to prison if this was publicly known, that meant the acts shown in the video could not just simply be acting and could not be truly consensual. This lawsuit also includes a few very specific details that have actually been verified in public. For example, he had a pink kimono that he had purchased on a trip to Japan that happened during the time of their relationship. And of all things, Shia LaBeouf, actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf, talked about this on Regis and Kelly during an interview that he did several years prior. Because what had happened is around that time, Shia LaBeouf had gone to Manson's house in order to discuss a collaboration. I believe they were working on a video for Born Villain at the time, and he answered Shia LaBeouf in a pink kimono. And he also confirmed in this interview that Manson's house is typically kept completely dark.
He's an eccentric human being.
Okay, wait, tell me. So tell me, you meet with Marilyn Manson, okay?
Yeah.
Take me through, step by step, what is he wearing? What is his house
Got
like?
you.
What does he serve you?
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
Well, he lives in West Hollywood above a liquor store.
Right, exactly how I imagined it.
And there's no lights in the room, and it's sort of this big metal door, and he opens the door, and he's in a kimono, a big pink kimono.
Okay, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, and he shakes my hand, and we walk in. There's sort of like it's a layer, you know. Again, no lights, so he's using his cell phone to guide you around.
Now, speaking of things being dark, that pink kimono, yeah, it turns out he wore that when he forcibly raped the Jane Doe after she tried to return the house key. And his abuse went way beyond that. In addition to the forced oral sex and the forcible rape that I just mentioned, there was the whole concept of how their sexual relationship worked. So Manson, this has been said in interviews many times, has a voracious sexual appetite, and because he is mostly nocturnal, he kept this Jane Doe up for sex at basically all hours of the night, waking her up every hour or two for sex, regardless of if she wanted it or not, and would berate her if she was sleepy during sex, which left her not only sleep deprived, but this, along with the rape and other things that happened in their relationship, left her with a condition called vaginismus. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's what we're going with. And if you don't know what that is a condition where sex is incredibly painful. Even putting in a tampon can be virtually impossible, because what happens is when something is going to be inserted, it causes involuntary muscle spasms and contractions. And there's two main types of vaginismus. There is primary vaginismus, which exists just throughout the lifespan of the person. It's not necessarily provoked by something, where somebody didn't have it and then suddenly they do. But there is also secondary vaginismus, which is when that does happen, where somebody has a life where they don't have vaginismus and then something happens and then they have vaginismus. That could be because of things like a yeast infection or giving birth, but it can also be because of trauma or sexual assault. And I think this condition in particular is important to note, because when this starts to go to trial, when they're getting prepared, there is a process called discovery in which you obtain evidence. And one of those pieces could be the medical records that proves that she has this condition and had it around the time that would have been after her relationship with Manson. In addition, it could be possible they could also obtain either the master or a copy of this so-called groupie tape. And I think I want to emphasize this, because so much of the commentary about these cases is, oh, well, this is just he said, she said. And this is an opportunity that we have for very concrete proof that we don't always get in these cases, especially 10 plus years later. And one last thing that I want to address along those lines is a lot of people have this idea that these women prepared all of their statements together, that it was written by one person. And I think for that scenario to make sense, that would mean that all of these women are working together, and they're probably working with the same legal team in order to coordinate everything and make sure all their stories kind of go along with what they're saying in the lawsuits. However, if you look at the filings for these lawsuits, there's at least 3 different legal teams involved. I believe Esme Bianco and Smithline had the same lawyer. I don't remember which two. I think 2 of them had the same lawyer. Anyways, 2 of them had the same lawyer at least, but then overall there's at least 3 different legal teams. So I think that definitely kind of puts a dent in the allegation that all these women are totally working together and working for the same legal team, and it's all this like very coordinated hit job, because I can't imagine how that many lawyers in that many different law firms would all be able to coordinate in such a particular fashion with all of their various clients. So I am not personally here to endorse any conspiracy theories, so I will just leave it at that. And that is everything that I have to discuss in today's video. I am really gonna try to get the 3rd video out before any more big news items happen, but it certainly seems like the wheels are really turning on this Marilyn Manson story, so I can't make any particular promises. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I really try to just digest everything and read the horrors that are contained in these lawsuits, so hopefully you don't have to read them on your own. As always, guys, please take care of yourselves, enjoy the sunshine, pet a cute animal, look at cute dog pictures, take a nap, take a bath, do whatever you got to do to kind of recenter yourself after hearing these allegations, because they are very mentally intense and it is important to respect that. So again, that's everything for today, guys. If you want to make sure to not miss any future updates about the Marilyn Manson stories, other allegations, please do subscribe. I also do make videos twice a week about kink and BDSM related subjects, so not always really dour news about consent violation accusations, but it is something that we also do cover. Also, if you really enjoy what I do here on this channel, the best thing you can do is subscribe to my Patreon. I have now been demonetized by YouTube twice, and both times they said it has been a mistake. Of course, you never know if a third time might happen, so I don't rely on YouTube to pay my bills or allow me to keep making these videos because YouTube is really, really uncertain. Patreon has always been a really amazing platform to me, and truly, it is what allows me the stability to go into especially these kind of riskier subjects like this. So if you do already support me over there, thank you so, so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you guys next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
My girlfriend has told me that I've bit her in the middle of the night, just like savagely bit, like, but on the back, like just.
Well, that biting is a form of aggression. It's just, it's an expression. It's a very, very aggressive expression, an oral aggressive impulse.